Another episode of the Balanced Growth Show live edition. I'm Dr. Travis Perry. Today, I want to be talking to you about something that we call here at the Make Time Institute transformational profit. Well, I'm going to back up a little bit because I think there's a major issue. We talk a lot here on this show about what it takes to grow and scale and really, create a business that is in balance with everything else that you're doing in life. That is our emphasis. That is our definite sweet spot in helping business owners out there who are listening and watching. One issue that I find is a struggle for most business owners out there is that they are so focused on bringing the marketing in, the advertising, the spend, and making the sale that oftentimes we forget if we're not treating our clients not just with a good service, but a transformation, they're likely to leave us and go to someone else, to go to another service. For example, if I look at the financial planning industry, we've literally interviewed over 500 financial advisors, planners, insurance agents over the last few years and talked about this concept. And the industry that describes a financial planner or insurance agent is called financial services. Joseph Pine II talked about this problem as we move from good to service, from service to experience, and ultimately from experience to transformation. This concept is not new. It's been around for several decades, actually. There's books about it. But the reality is, if we are struggling with keeping these clients, it's costing us more. It takes more time, stifles our growth and scalability if we're not able to retain clients, especially financial planners who want a client long-term, forever and ever. Now, that may not be you. It may not be your business model. However, regardless of how long the lifespan of your client, there is definitely a struggle regardless. Even if it's a 3-month time span or a 2-week, to have a transformation really happen. So what is transformation? I believe that transformation, as discussed with Joseph Pine II's definition, has to do with this idea of there is a lasting, dramatic change. Now, dramatic doesn't have to be overnight, but it has to be different. Look at when we discuss transformation, look at any health coach. I follow a lot of health coaches on LinkedIn, on social media, and they're posting like before pictures, right? Side view of a dude with the belly, not great muscle mass. And then, the next picture is this ripped, shredded, buff guy, right? That is transformation. And it's visual and you can see it. And so clients and potential clients is great marketing fodder, but it's also for a client to experience that transformation, to say, look at me before and look at me after is incredible. A client of mine, Matt Gunter, was just struggling with the time to spend to actually work on his health. He went through our program and he hired a health coach at the same time. The health coach, highly recommended, endorsed, one of our coaches, has been able to work with him. And in 3 months, he dropped 50 pounds in 3 months. This is incredible. And that is, sometimes some people would say, well, it's not actually very healthy either. And maybe too much, at one time, but that's neither here nor there. The reality is that he had a transformation and he'll never go back. He loves his health coach. He's probably going to hire her and keep her around to even help his clients and help his friends, and the word will spread. Raving Fans is a book that talks all about this process in a fairy tale kind of story for business owners. Very short book, highly recommend it if you're struggling with this concept of transformation. But I believe we really need to move past services into experiences and past experience into transformation. Today we have a special guest. Mr. Clay Neff. Clay coaches business owners and helps them on this back end that we're going to be talking so much about today. And we're going to get into the nitty gritty with him. And if you stick around to the very end, I'm going to have some top 10 tips of how to do this, how to fix this problem with transformation. Until then, let's welcome Clay Neff to the show. Clay, we're excited that you're here with us on the Balanced Growth Show. It's been fun to get to know you a little bit in the pre-show, and my team has said a lot about great things about you and your direction. Tell us about your story. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you've been able to get here.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Travis. I appreciate the opportunity. I really love what you're trying to do and what you're teaching. So to be on the show is an honor, and I'm greatly thankful for it. Um, well, first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father, married, four beautiful kids ranging from 24 to 9. So we've got kind of two groups, one group that's out of the house, two that are still in the house. So um, family is very important to us. But I started in franchising about 20 years ago. I really didn't know anything about franchising. I started in the fitness industry, and but I've always been an athlete, so working out was a big part of my life. So I knew I could sell the concept of fitness, but I didn't really know how franchising worked. And I really fell in love with the opportunity for people who may not necessarily be wanting to create a business out of nothing, but that wants to be a business owner and have that transformation in their life, whether it be more financial freedom, whether it be more time with their family, or just to transfer out of that corporate world that they didn't like. And I fell in love with what that provided for people. And I spent the next 12 years helping people, thousands of people, start their own business, to try to have that transformation. And then my wife and I had the opportunity about 9 years ago to do that for ourselves. We started a home service company. And we spent the last 9 years in a family business with her and my oldest son, kind of going through that transformation ourselves, and quite a bit of struggles as well. But we had the opportunity to exit out of that at the end of the year. And that just led me to kind of looking back on those past 20 years and all of these people that started these businesses and myself, and seeing really that there was something keeping that transformation from happening. And I wanted to be able to kind of fill that gap for people and help them make that transformation like you're speaking about.
I love it. Yeah, there's a lot to be learned from experience, a hands-on experience of doing it yourself, and then being able to systematize this. Before I get too deep into this discussion, what would you say has been the best thing for you as you're, bringing this out, whether it's franchising or this idea of your coaching that you're providing to your clients? What has been the best mode to market this, to scale it, to grow it for others who are looking to find what services you provide?
Really, for me, it's the relationship building that I've built over the last 20 years. I mean, I've got such a network now from either doing our own business or in the franchising world, that providing the talking to the people that are actually helping others try to make this transformation, and making that gap realization to them, that we can then help people move past that. So it's really, I'm almost taking an end around, if you will, to market it. I'm going to people who I know are already working with these people, and then to help have that conversation with people. So almost, I hate to say it's a referral kind of based approach, but that's really what it is. I'm using referrals that I've built over the years, that I know people are already having these conversations, but may not be having the conversations correctly. And I want to be able to step in and make that conversation more productive for both of them. So
Let's talk about referrals. Referrals are big. I know most financial advisors, business owners, they really depend on the quality, quantity of referrals. What has been something that's really helped you to make sure that you have good quality? Because I know one of the issues that a lot of people struggle with is that they get a lot of referrals from their clients. Sometimes the quality of the referral isn't what they want, and then they're struggling with, well, how do I help this person? Right? How does this not become a liability to my business? I know advisors, insurance agents, even mortgage brokers struggle with this. Talk to us a little bit about that.
well, I think you have to, and one of the things we coach other business owners on, right, is you have to identify who it is that you want to bring in as your ideal client. Who do you want to spend time with? I kind of use a campfire analogy when I talk about this because you know who you want to invite into your backyard to sit around your fire pit and your campfire. And you know the kind of stories that are going to be shared. And then you're going to sit around and have s'mores and all of that. You're not going to invite people in that you're not going to be comfortable working with, you're not going to be comfortable talking to. And oftentimes when we talk about referrals, we just say, hey, send me anybody that you can, and then you spend a lot of time spinning your wheels with people that you know you can't really help, or they're not going to be a good fit for what you're offering. And then the relationship gets damaged because you weren't able to take care of the people that they sent to you. So I think first and foremost, you have to identify who it is that you actually can help and in what method, so that they know exactly who to send to you, so that that can be a productive relationship for all three parties.
Well said, well said. And I think that this is a super important thing is you got to train your clients to get the right referral on there. What happens? What do you do? What do you suggest other business owners do even after you train, even after you are helping your clients to send, the right referrals and you get a referral that does not fit your model. They're not an ideal client. What do you do, and what do you suggest other business owners do? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one too.
It's great that you asked that because in the franchise world, this is really big. Right? A lot of people request information on a franchise business, sometimes that they want to get into that they may not be a good fit for. So the first thing is, I mean, you just have to be honest, and you just have to say, hey, I'm not saying you can't be successful. That's not what I'm saying. I think you can, but I don't think what I have to offer you is the right fit for you. So I'm going to send you in a different direction with somebody else that I think that can help you better. So I think just authenticity and honesty is the best approach to move someone that's not going to be the best fit for you into somewhere where they can be the best fit and that they can get the most potential out of what they're trying to do.
I love it. What if you were to say, hey, yes, next to referrals, this has been our second greatest way to scale and grow the business, get the word out there, either the coaching or the franchising. What has worked well for you that way?
Just being involved in the community, whether it be on Facebook groups, being in LinkedIn groups, or just being in person groups, Chamber of Commerce, different business organizations like that. But I'm a big relationship guy. I feel like that's always been my strength. I love building relationships. I just like having interactions with people. So depending on the forum, I think you have to be willing. I think Zig Ziglar said it right. You have to be willing to help other people get what they want in order to get what you want. And if you go into all of the relationship building with that mindset, I think that will naturally grow into transformational profits like you're talking about. So for me, relationship building is key, and it doesn't necessarily matter the form. You still have to be honest. You still have to be authentic, and still have to provide value.
Yeah, I love it. The authenticity, honesty, the market craves this right now. There's so many things going on at different levels of business or politics or whatever you name it. And we want to have answers. We want to know what's going on. And being able to be authentic self, be honest with your clients, they appreciate that, don't they? I
Absolutely.
know it's not a franchise model. It's not, coaching. This is a blue collar example, but my father uh, he started with his father a plumbing business. They knew nothing about plumbing. My grandfather was an engineer. He's like, "Hey, I want to start a business." And he saw that someone was advertising, you can learn how to, become a plumber in a few days. And all they did was drain cleans at first. And they branched out and became a full service shop eventually. But my father was one of these guys that was so honest, so brutally honest that everyone could trust him. In fact, I remember as a kid going to work with him and I'm like, "Dad, nobody's home." He's like, "That's okay. I know where the key is." They told me that I could get in and the key's over here. It's hid here. It wasn't one house. It was like several homes where it doesn't like they trusted him to come into their home, do everything he needed to do and leave and do a great job. It's so hard to honestly, find good help these days. But here's my dad showing up in gated communities without, a need of the homeowner to even be home. Just it goes to show that, like, honesty, people want that and they crave it, don't they?
Absolutely. That was probably one of the things we're most proud of in the 9 years that we ran our home service company, is we actually had that exact opportunity. We worked a lot with real estate agents. You know, they would get us access when nobody else was home. And the best reviews we got were always saying, "Hey, call Clay and his wife because they're going to give you an honest answer. They're going to give you an honest assessment." And that to me is the best review we can get.
Yeah. Reviews are gold these days, too. Everybody checks reviews online. Social proof is huge. If you don't have great reviews, if you don't have testimonials, and somebody else does, people are more likely to go that direction, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I enjoy chatting about the this discussion here about honesty, about referrals. Let's talk about what Let's kind of flip this a little bit and talk about what has been some of your biggest struggles as you've been growing your businesses and trying to keep balance. And maybe let's couch that for a second. Why is balance important to you? Let's go there for a second, Clay. Why is balance so important to you in your life and your business?
I think it's mostly important to me because I didn't always have it. And I think once you do have it, you realize what all you missed. So it's become even more important the older I get, especially as well, now that I've had a group of kids leave the house, you realize how fast it goes. So I want to take advantage of the time I have with the ones that are left in the house. I think someone said if you count the number of summers you have left, it really puts it in perspective because it's a very small number. Um, and it started with us really. So I was traveling all the time. This is right before we started our own business. I was traveling all the time. I would leave on Tuesday, come back on Friday, and this is week in, week out. When I was home, I was just in the way. And the company I worked for was bought by another company. They kind of streamlined salaries. And I got a phone call one morning and said, "Hey, I was the highest paid person out that didn't work at the corporate office. I wasn't going to relocate. So they said, 'Hey, we're just going to eliminate your position.'" And I didn't know what we were going to do. I went in, I was about to tell my wife. I was afraid she was going to just melt down. And she looked at me and she said, "Good." She said, "I'm tired of you being gone all the time. I'm tired of you being stressed out." She's like, "God will work it out for us. We'll find a way." And that led us into our own business. And then 9 years later, we were able to run this beautiful business with our family. Not always saying that balance was there at that point either, but that really got me home, got me off the road, and it got us working together day in and day out.
I talked to a lot of business owners that have struggled with balance in the past, and something significant usually has to happen before this change occurs. And for you, it was a job transition, right? Job loss, whatever you want to call it, that made you say, okay, time to kick it in gear. And the fact that your wife was on board with it tells you everything you need to know, right? It's like, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes I'll ask, hey, how's your balance? Oh, it's really good. It's better than it used to be, is what we hear a lot of times. And well, how many hours you working? Oh, 50 hours or so on a bad week. You get 45. How many hours would your wife say you're working? Oh, a lot more than that. It's true. It's true. Like, isn't she the litmus test for how your balance is? Like, she's the one who can whisper in your ear, like, hey, I need more time with you. Right. And you listen if you love her.
Yeah.
So I love that you did that. And I love that you guys are involved and that you're seeing so much success. Let's talk about where you may be struggling. Now, you've talked about the growth of your businesses and what balance means to you, but let's talk about, well, hey, as you're growing, these growing pains, trying to scale and grow even further. I know you're actively, trying to do that, Clay. What are some, of your Achilles heels? What are some areas you're like, I'm really struggling with this to keep my balance while I'm growing? What would you say?
Yeah, it started with the first business when we did the home service business. Those first 2 years or so, I think most entrepreneurs will tell you this, like hour by hour, even it's a roller coaster. One minute your things are going great, the next minute you feel like it's falling apart. It's always on your mind. And like you just mentioned, your spouse kind of keeping you in check. There were times that, yeah, now I'm home for dinner physically, but I still wasn't present. I had other things on my mind that, looking back, is not as important as where I should have been at the moment. And as we brought our son into the business, what we found was every conversation we were having, whether it be with my wife or my son, no matter where we were at, seemed to revolve around business, and we were losing our identity as a family because it was getting so wrapped up into work that we had to actually step back and create boundaries, create time when we could talk about work, when we could not, when we could go out and spend time together doing something that wasn't work related, go run a race together or go work out together or something, because the balance was getting out of whack. And we really struggled with that. I really struggled with that. I feel like I shortchanged my family in some of those early years in the business because I wasn't present, even though we were using that as the means to have balance. I was still completely out of balance. So we finally were able to get it on track. And that's one of the things as I move into coaching that I'm being very cognizant of. I'm still in the development stage of some of my programs. We've got our software platform now ready to go. It's launched live. Um, but it's not a 24/7 thing for me this time around. It's when I have time to work on it, I work on it. I'm going to make sure that when I work with my clients that there's still time for me, that I'm only working what I need to work so that my family comes first. Because as I'm getting older, at the end of the day, no one's going to ask me how much money I made or what I did, but what are those relationships like? And I want my kids to be proud of the time they had with me, not what I could give them. So,
Well said. I 100% agree. They're not going to remember how much money or what, fancy things you had. They're going to remember the quality of a relationship that they had with their dad, with their husband. So I appreciate that. I know this idea of being present, this is a tough one. We live in an instant world with devices, we've got dings, we've got things everywhere around us that are trying to take our attention, right? And
yep.
everything's on fire all the time. As I say in a lot of my speeches, if you're running around trying to put out fires all day, you're likely the one who's going to end up getting burnt out. And everyone else knows, as you've mentioned, that you're not present. And if you're not present, they're always going to be trying to get your attention. And then eventually they're just going to be like, dad's doing this. I give up, right? My level of energy to get his attention is now done. What have you done better now? What have you done that's helped that so that no longer is as big an issue? And I know you're struggling with it, but what are you doing that works to stay present?
I say yes. Where I used to not say yes, I now say yes. So if my 9-year-old comes to me and says, "Dad, you want to play a game of Madden on PlayStation?" I say yes. If he says, "You want to go out in the yard and throw baseball?" I say yes. I coach his baseball team now. My daughter, who loves to do CrossFit, when she says, "Can you take me to CrossFit tonight?" I say yes. The work will be there. I can do it when I get home. I can do it the next day. The work will be there. So I'm just making a very intense effort to say yes. When my wife says, "Hey, we need a date night. Let's make it happen. We're going to do it we'll do it tonight. We'll do it whenever you want to do it." Making sure that we're setting aside a time just to talk, to have coffee in the morning together. But I'm making the effort to say yes to whenever they ask me for something like that when it's feasible.
Yeah, we say no to a lot of things, but when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, right? And so if in your mind you have that idea in your mind, your work's always going to be there. It always will be. And I think there's this mentality though. It is very much a FOMO. It is a less of an abundant mentality where we think that if we don't show or support our clients 24/7, that somehow we're going to lose them. Now, we're talking about transformational profit, and we want to have a system in place, which we're going to get to in just a little bit here. I'm going to talk to you about these three things that, 3 or 4 things actually really can help you to have that system, that transformational profit. But I think there is that fear of like, well, I'm going to lose money. I'm going to lose clients. I'm going to lose. And I'm here to tell you that's just not true. The reality is your clients want you to have a balanced life. They want you to be happy. They don't want you just running around, waiting on them 24/7. If they have that kind of weird, absolutely insane, selfish desire for them, then they're not the right clients. That's my opinion. You should find other clients because they will work you to death and then they won't likely they're the ones that are not going to pay you. It's just happened in business. I've seen it So many business owners struggle with this. And especially financial advisors and planners, as I've worked with them, they feel so tied and connected to these clients lifelong. They feel like they always have to serve instead of let go a lot more. So let's talk about this for just a second. How, as you've built your team, how have you been able to let go more as the leader? How have you been able to um, delegate and have a team in place? And maybe I'm speaking for you. Maybe you aren't. I don't know. Let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about delegation, Clay.
I struggled with that on the in the home service business when we first started. I wanted to be have my hands on everything. Now, we brought my son into the business, I started to let go a little bit. But as we're building this next business, this coaching business, and the software platform that we're rolling out, I actually brought in a partner this time, um, someone who knows a little bit more about the tech side of things, and I'm just passing that over to them and do what I do best, which is build the relationships, do the coaching. So I'm not trying to learn everything. I'm not trying to do everything. I'm utilizing the skills that my wife has to help with some of the editing and some of the wordsmithing, different things like that. So I am, because I'm saying yes to other things, and I'm saying no to other things. I do need that help now, and I'm aware that I need that help now. And I think as I get older, the ego and the pride go away. They're starting to go away. And I'm not so much concerned about being, in fact, I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room anymore. I want to be surrounded with people who are smarter than me. So I'm really trying to build a team around me where I can actually just step back and have the vision and let them actually run the ship. And I just kind of help tell them where we need to go. So that's really the direction I'm moving this time around.
I love it. And it's great that you've had this experience with the home business, and now that you're, helping other business owners on the back end to delegate, to create. Talk to us a little bit about that business, the coaching business, and where are you taking your direction as a business owner?
So I saw a real need. I noticed in our business when we had it that I could not get. So I spend my day doing estimates or doing the work or building the relationships, and then at the end of the day, I still had to do some paperwork things, or I still had to write out quotes, or maybe I got some leads that day that came in through our website that I wasn't able to contact because I was busy doing other things and missed opportunities. And I thought there's just got to be a better way to do this. So one of the things that we set out to do was find a technology solution to help automate part of that process. So we were able to put together a platform where we can handle, as a lead comes in, that it's automatically getting responded to, that there's some artificial intelligence that we built into this that's able to have some automatic responses and help streamline that initial process so that the client or potential client is being taken care of, but you're still running your business, doing what you need to do without actually being the one to initially handle that response. But part of automation is also knowing what you're automating for. So on the back end, we don't just want to provide a tool that says, hey, put your leads in here, it's going to do this, and your business is going to get better. But if the right leads aren't coming in, if you're not telling the right story, if you're not providing the right value with your offer or what your service or product is, then you're still going to be struggling and spinning your wheels. So what we want to do is provide a tool for the automation, but we also want to provide the coaching to help them identify what they're trying to achieve in their business, who they want to achieve it with, what's the story they're trying to tell, and then let's put together an incredible offer that's best going to serve those dream clients of yours, so that you're working with the people you want to work with and you have a much better quality of life that way.
Oh, I love it. It fits in everything that we're talking about today. That offer, crafting that offer for your clients is huge. Is a big part of the transformational profit design. If you don't have that and you don't know what it is and you don't value it correctly, it's a real struggle, isn't it? It's a struggle to scale, because how do you scale? I remember as a beginning coach, I had coached people in time management and financial coaching. I had been there for a little bit, but I wanted to start coaching with relationships. And I had a PhD in family relations. I knew what I was talking about. I'd done the research and I'd studied it out. But when I started to do coaching, I was running the model like a therapist, and I was charging by the hour, and I was building these extensive, complicated, comprehensive plans, and I was still charging by the hour. And I started finding that I was losing time I couldn't market, I couldn't advertise, I couldn't get on social media, I couldn't do the things that brought a new business. So I brought in a bunch of clients, and then it collapsed. I was stuck. So I love this idea of automating things. I love the idea of using automation professionally, appropriately, in a way that will help to grow your brand and offer, so that you can have better balance. Because ultimately, I had to learn that lesson the hard way, and I wish I would have found you 10 years ago. But it was a struggle. If people want to learn more about what you do, Clay, how can they reach you? How can they find you?
The easiest way to find us would be the website, which is Phoenix Pro. It's FYNXPro.com. The name of the business is Phoenix Solutions. And we took the name Phoenix basically based off the mythical bird, because that kind of symbolizes rebirth. And that's what we're trying to do with business owners in their business, is kind of have a rebirth, and move in a different direction. So PhoenixPro.com is where you'll find out about our platform. And then you can book a demo with us from there, or a live call, and we can talk about the coaching services as well.
Perfect. Thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for giving us a glimpse into what you're doing, how you've been able to do it, how you've been able to continue to grow, keeping your balance. We always love having amazing, successful business owners here on the show to do that. So thank you again, my friend.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's great to talk to Clay. Clay is a guy that I've noticed, as just interacting with him, that he's been able to take successes and failures and learn from them, right? And move forward and fail forward. This is a quality that I believe is super important in business and in life. I want to get to the top 3 or 4 things. I'm going to call them the top 4 things here that are really going to help you to, once you've crafted that great offer with Clay, once you've been able to, really say, this is my transformational profit. I want to get to that solution right now. So here are the top 4 things that allow you to have transformational profit. Number 1, systematize. Clay and I were talking about automation, right? Automation is a system. I don't care if it's you hiring an assistant or having workflows or an automation or all 3 or more that work together in a step-by-step process. When I was a kid, my dad got us a Commodore 64 and an Atari computer, and it wasn't for video games, although those were fun. We did some programming on it. And I remember actually programming code like line 1, line 2, line 3. It wasn't the zeros and ones that we have today. It was actually code, like do this, add this. And I create these calculations, and it was fun, but it was a system. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. If you do not have a system to your offer, to your transformational offer, then it's going to suffer. The same level of service and transformation will not be there. It will be spotty. It'll be like your Wi-Fi. It will be spotty. It's not like the cable to get plugged in from the high-speed internet or the cable or whatever it is that you're using. That's a real analogy today, because it was struggling. We had to reset ours, right? And it happens. You have to have that connection. Well, if you systematize, then you know exactly what you need to do. You know exactly what needs to be coming next. And the process is the same. It is sequential. If you've not systematized what you do for your clients, you are missing out. I suggest you take and outline everything you do. You don't have to give all the details, but outline step 1, step 2, all the way at least to step 12. My dad always said 12 is much better than 10. I'm like, Dad, why do we use the metric system? Why do we use the English system over the metric system? And he said, 12 is divisible by more numbers than 10, right? I'm like, oh, yeah. He's like, therefore, it's more usable. Get to 12. Create a system that has 12 steps. Why? Because you can divide it into 3 parts, 3 meetings. You can divide it in 2 parts. Maybe it's only 2 meetings. You could do it all in one. I don't know. You could have it over 12 months, a year. Like, this makes sense, right? Or you could have it into 4 quarters. So what I'm doing, quarter 1, quarter 2, if you have a year-long transformation. You could even make it a 4-week transformation, a 6-week transformation. All of your steps will be there. You've got the number 12. It's a beautiful number. All right. So that said, you can't do this alone. And I have a quote here that I love to utilize as much as possible. And that's this: are you selling you, or are you selling your system? This is more of a thought provoking question rather than a quote. But are you selling you, or are you selling your system? If you're selling you, you cannot be replicated. You can't copy and paste yourself over and over again. But we try, don't we? And automation, like Clay and I have been talking about, is helpful, but it's not really replicating you completely. You need to have a full system that is working for you so that you can replicate the system. And as you're bringing clients in, you can have them be focused on the system rather than Travis Perry. We're focusing on the make time method or the balanced growth system. Why? Because Travis isn't always going to be the one who's going to be delivering that service. Travis might be retired someday. He might sell the business, or he might hire someone to take over significant pieces of that business so that he can have greater balance in his own life. I suggest the same thing for you. And I suggest that you think about this concept of system versus selling you. All right. So this brings me to the next point. And the second point of this is delegation, right? If you have a system, well, now you can delegate. Now you can hire a team. You don't have to go out and hire, if it's just you, yourself, and yourself right now, the team of three. I used to say me, myself, and I, the team of three here. But once you're ready and you're wanting to delegate some of these systems, put pieces of the system off, you need to find out, where do you really work your best? I call it the work sweet spot. I have this all delineated out in the book Achieving Balance, spelled out, step by step of how to find your work sweet spot. Everything else should be either deleted, delegated, or automated. So if you find those tasks that should be delegated, then create a system for that person. Have the training in place. Have the models. I just lost my operations person, and she created all of these videos, about 25 videos. So the next person I hire, he or she will come in and be able to watch step by step. This is how we do everything. Okay. And I can be very hands off. But I do suggest one-on-one meetings at least once a week, quarterly meetings to discuss with your team members their goals. How do their goals match up with the business goals? If they don't, you're going to lose them. Okay. I know firsthand experience, myself and hiring other people. It's a difficult thing if you're not focused on their goals. And then continual training. Training doesn't always have to be from you. It could be from other resources, other, online resources, other individuals. Maybe you send your team to training. Maybe you purchase the training for them. The third tip I suggest is get feedback from your clients. Notice team first. Your team's important. Your team should come first. Clients should come second. Why? Because if you just put your clients first, you may lose your team members, and now you're losing balance because you've got to make up for the lost employee. Now, mine left because she had a life goal to serve a mission for a church, so she was able to leave. So we're in the process of replacing. But don't let that be because you put your team or your client first. Now that you're working with your client, get feedback. Some people wait till after they're done with the business cycle with a client to get feedback. Wrong. Worst thing ever to do. Why? Only a certain percentage are going to give you great feedback because they don't have the time. They're not in the middle of it. So what I suggest is halfway through your process, 12 months, 6 months, 4 weeks, 3 days, I don't care. Halfway through, ask for feedback. How's it going? Give me a testimonial if it's going awesome. If it's not going awesome, let's fix it now. Okay. Some people say, well, Travis, even halfway through is too late. Probably. Ask feedback all along, but there should be a major milestone halfway through to follow up to make sure the system is working for the client. Okay. This is, if you go to my website, travisperry.com/coaching or maketimeinstitute.com, goes the same place, maketimeinstitute.com, you will see dozens of testimonials. Those were all grabbed halfway through the process. They weren't even done with the full system yet. So when I do another one at the end as well. So they've had a great experience. We capture that. But I want to know what I can change partway through. The last one is something that I think really aligns with what Clay and I were talking about today, and that's the value of what your offering is. I know, and you know what you're worth dollar per hour value. And likely you are not getting your dollar per hour value on a daily basis. And we help people through the Make Time Method to make that happen. Shameless plug. However, what you want to be able to do is value your system appropriately so you can scale, so you can hire, so you can pay for automation, so you can run better marketing campaigns, and so you can take vacations and pay your employees. All of those things are crucial. If you do not value your system correctly, you do not value this transformational system enough to charge what you're worth, then you, my friend, are hurting yourself. I suggest you take a good, hard, long look. I spent a few moments doing this myself when a coach approached me and said, Travis, the reason why you're not being successful is because you're not charging enough. And I said, you're crazy. I charge a ton. He's like, it's not enough. How much have you spent in your education? How many years have you been out of the market because of opportunity cost, but you're charging like a therapist? I'm like, yeah, I'm like an overpriced therapist. Once I changed my model and I found ideal clients that would pay for my value, my life changed. It changed literally overnight. It was a wonderful feeling. That doesn't mean, I'm not saying you go out there and price gouge everyone, just raise your prices, whatever. No, you have to believe that it's worth it. And it has to provide enough value to your client that can sustain itself and people will pay it. But I think what the wrong way of looking at this is, well, what's the market say? What is everyone else charging? What's wrong? Price at the high end. There's less competition up here than there is at the bottom. Russell Brunson, world famous marketer and advertiser, talks about this all the time in his secrets books that I have been following so closely over the last few years. You need to price at where your value is. All right. Those are my top 4 things of how to create transformational profits. I hope you've enjoyed this segment of the Balanced Growth Show. And I look forward to interacting with you on all platforms. Send us any requests, ideas, thoughts that you want to see moving forward. If you've loved this, share the show with a friend, someone who needs it. And remember, till next time, live life on purpose.